The modern banking system manufactures money out of nothing. The process is perhaps the most astounding piece of sleight of hand that was ever invented. Josiah Stamp.
John Maynard Keynes and Harry Dexter White, a U.S. Treasury official. Both Keynes and White wanted to structure a way to avoid repeating the mistakes which led to the Great Depression, when world trade collapsed and commodity prices were shattered.
One of the main sources of international friction and conflict is the abuse of monetary policy. Countries in the throes of depression adjusted cutthroat measures in order to expand their export and curtail their import at the expense of other countries' exports.
Each man had ideas for institutions that would help bring about prosperity and peace in the post-war world.
White knew that the United States was going to be the dominant economic power. He wanted to make sure that the U.S. used that power for a global benefit. And he saw the IMF as an adjunct to that power that would make the world economy function better.
Keynes had a different vision because he was worried about U.S. dominance.
He wanted a more independent and a larger and more powerful institution that would really be a world central bank.
The Bretton Woods Conference established three major institutions and set of rules. The International Monetary Fund, whose purpose was to provide short-term loans to countries with balance of payment problems. Their role was to ensure currency stability and oversee fixed exchange rates. The International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which later became part of the World Bank Group. Its purpose was to finance post-war reconstruction and develop projects. Their role also was long-term loans for rebuilding economies and infrastructure. The third was general agreement on tariffs and trade, which was the beginning of the World Trade Organization. The general agreements on tariffs and trade purpose was to reduce trade barriers and promote free trade. The GATT was negotiated in 1947 as a direct follow-up to Bretton Woods' objectives.
Monetary system.
The proposal is, it is up to the rest of us, from behind the credit of the devastated and undeveloped countries, and take, each of us, our share in guaranteeing the lenders from ultimate loss. The whole world will join together in a mutual credit pool to shoulder risks which private investors might be unwilling to run.
The dollar, pegged to gold, became the keystone. Exchange rates fixed, capital controls in place, and the global trade begins its recovery.
An indispensable element in building the new prosperity is closely related to creating new jobs and halting inflation. We must protect the position of the American dollar as a pillar of monetary stability around the world. In the past 7 years, there's been an average of one international monetary crisis every year. Now, who gains from these crises? Not the working man, not the investor, not the real producers of wealth. The gainers are the international money speculators. Because they thrive on crises, they help to create them. In recent weeks, the speculators have been waging an all-out war on the American dollar. The strength of a nation's currency is based on the strength of that nation's economy. And the American economy is by far the strongest in the world. Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States. Now, what is this action, which is very technical, what does it mean for you? Let me lay to rest the bugaboo of what is called devaluation. If you want to buy a foreign car or take a trip abroad, market conditions may cause your dollar to buy slightly less. But if you are among the overwhelming majority of Americans who buy American-made products in America, your dollar will be worth just as much tomorrow as it is today. The effect of this action, in other words, will be to stabilize the dollar. Now, this action will not win us any friends among the international money traders. But our primary concern is with the American workers and with their competition around the world. To our friends abroad, including the many responsible members of the international banking community who are dedicated to stability and the flow of trade, I give this assurance. The United States has always been and will continue to be a forward-looking and trustworthy trading partner. In full cooperation with the International Monetary Fund and those who trade with us, we will press for the necessary reforms to set up an urgently needed new international monetary system. Stability and equal treatment is in everybody's best interest. I am determined that the American dollar must never again be a hostage in the hands of international speculators.
In 1971, President Nixon ended the Bretton Woods system because rising U.S. deficits from Vietnam War spending and domestic programs, which accelerated inflation. And the global glut of dollars led foreign governments, most notably France, to demand gold in exchange for their dollar reserves, draining U.S. gold stocks to dangerous lows and making a fixed $35 per ounce gold peg unsustainable, prompting Nixon to suspend gold convertibility and move the world towards today's fiat currency and floating exchange rate system. The system of fixed but adjustable exchange rates, capital controls, and dollar hegemony shaped the post-Bretton Woods world. Even though exchange rates floated after the system collapsed, many central bank frameworks and the dollar reserve status persist. Post-Bretton Woods deregulation unleashed a wave for corporate-led globalization. Capital flowed freely, and global value chains became dominated by powerful multinationals.
Delegates attending the Asian-African Business Summit have spoken highly of the China-proposed One Belt and One Road initiative and the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, with Nigerian Foreign Minister Aminu Bashir Wali telling CNC that the Belt and Road initiative is a benefit to the whole international community.
We have been dealing, for example, Nigeria has been dealing with the Exim Bank of China and other commercial banks in China. And their role in helping to develop our Nigerian infrastructure has been absolutely great. The Chinese government has come to support the efforts of those banks to promote development infrastructure. And the investment in that sector in Nigeria alone is running into billions of dollars. So that is something that we appreciate.
Mohamed Asili, an Egyptian entrepreneur, said the Belt and Road Initiative and Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank are very important, which would be mutually beneficial.
One of the major roles in any project is the funds. So such a bank is playing a very important role, and this whole we all know and aware about it. So the most important role is that it concentrates upon the projects that we are concentrating upon. So by increasing the funds, we can minimize the time and achieve our goals easily.
Today, we have rising powers like BRICS and Russia, along with China, which is building an alternative, the AIIB, the new development bank, to reshape global finance. The Bretton Woods institutions must adapt or risk obsolescence. Bretton Woods created the financial architect that shaped the modern world. As global power shifts and new challenges emerge, from climate crisis to pandemics, those foundations are being tested. The question now, can they evolve fast enough to sustain equitable global stability? In conclusion, Bretton Woods was born from crisis, and its legacy endures in global financial structures, trade norms, and power dynamics. But the world has changed. For Bretton Woods to remain relevant, its institution must adapt, becoming more inclusive, responsive, and capable of addressing today's complex challenges. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can get the message out to people who want to hear the truth. Peace.